Good evening, Opinioneers, and welcome to WDW Opinion Live. Thank you so very much for being here. My name is Conor Brown, and I'm a lifelong Disney fan who's been going to the parks for the last 20 years, and I'm also a former Disney cast member, so I know what it takes to make the magic. My passion is simple. It's to help you plan for and daydream about your next perfect Disney vacation. I do that by sharing my expertise on my blog, podcast, these Facebook live streams, and so much more. You can head over to WDWOpinion.com to find out about all the content we have going on. Guys, it's Tuesday night, which means it's my favorite night of the week because I get to share it with you, my fellow Opinioneers. We have some interesting Disney news stories to discuss. Then we also have some cool Disney content pieces from WDW Opinion we'll get to talk about. If it is your first time here, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to say hello in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. If you are watching this on the replay, be sure to tune in every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern so that you can chat and watch with us live in real time. That's the best way to really get this community off the ground is to be tuning in live each and every week so we can put faces to names, so we can say hello to every single person who's in here. We have some Opinioneers in here. Real quick, Austin is coming to us from Orlando. Hello, Austin. Sue Brown, of course, is coming from Maryland, and a good friend of the show, Lou, is coming from all the way from Brazil. Hello to you all. Thank you all so very much for being here. I hope your week has gotten off to a great start. All right, listen, let's dive into some Disney news, shall we? The first news story today is that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway has been delayed until 2020. This is huge news, and I also want to comment on how Disney broke this news because I think it's a little interesting. The way Disney broke this news was actually in a blog post about Disneyland getting Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. This attraction was originally announced at last go-rounds D23, or maybe even the time before that. It was, 2017's D23 it was announced. They basically said, this will be coming in 2019, I think. They didn't give an opening date, but they said within the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, the Great Movie Ride was going to be closing. And as soon as they announced it, really, construction got underway. For about a year now, we've known that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was coming in 2019, and everyone was pretty confident that it was going to be coming in the fall of 2019. In time for Star Wars Galaxies Edge to open, maybe even a little bit before that land opened. And it was going to be a great way to, eat up people. Yes, it was going to be a very cool attraction. Yes, it was going to be cutting edge technology, but it was also going to be a way for a lot of people to be entertained in, a certain amount of time. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is going to bring in so many people to the parks. It needs more attractions than just the two within the land and just the land itself to occupy all those people. You see it with other things in the parks like Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. That is something that is not very popular, even though it's brand new. It has opened, but once crowds do start coming, I think, it's going to be a place where people can just really get entertained in a kind of a shorter wait. Not saying that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was going to ever be a shorter wait, but we were always pretty much confident that this attraction was going to open in time for Galaxy's Edge and even before Galaxy's Edge. Before I get to that, Shane, always good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So, a couple weeks ago, I think we started to hear some rumblings about, hey, this project is delayed. It does have a new technology that they're calling 2.5D technology. So it's basically like you're riding something that's in 3D without having to wear 3D glasses. It's a completely original story. There's those new technological elements like I mentioned. So there were a lot of moving pieces to this, but everyone was pretty much confident that it was going to open in time. A couple weeks ago, like I said, we started hearing, and things aren't looking on schedule. Then we finally get confirmation. But the way we get confirmation, well, When we go to the Disney Parks blog and we click on Disneyland stories, we find a news story right up front that says Disneyland park guests will be able to step into a cartoon world and join Mickey and his friends on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway coming to Mickey's Toontown in 2022. So that means that this attraction will also be opening up in Disneyland proper in 2022. And the rest of the blog post basically goes into what this means, kind of what the attraction is going to be like, information we already knew because of what they announced that was coming to Hollywood Studios. And then all the way at the very, very end of the blog post, they say Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is also planned to open at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World Resort in spring 2020. That's how they announce it. There's no other press release. There's no other statement from Disney. There's no other social media post. It was the last paragraph in an article about another attraction, albeit another version of this attraction, coming to Disneyland. That's how they said, oh yeah, we're really delayed on this front. Again, last year we got confirmation from Disney saying that this was going to open in fall of 2019. We hadn't heard an official opening date, but we knew fall of 2019 it was going to open. And then we see at the very end of this blog post, oh no, it's going to open in spring of 2020. That's almost a 6-month delay. It's crazy. It really is crazy. And I just don't like how Disney will never admit, something like that. They'll never admit, like, hey, we were wrong, it's not going to open then. They'll never correct themselves. They'll just rewrite the story to be like, nope, this is what it is now. We're not going to acknowledge the past and keep going. That's fine, but you can just claim, it's not. There's no harm in saying we messed up. Our bad, sorry about that. It really is not going to open on time, and push it. Who cares? We don't care. I mean, you'll get the internet commenters, upset for a little bit, but you just got to, own up to your faults, own up to your miscues. I'm upset that this attraction isn't opening in time. It was one of the things that I was really, really looking forward to in 2019. There's so much coming this year, and I think that this attraction was going under the radar, but because there was Mickey, because it was Minnie, because there was all of this new and unique technology, plus it was going into the old space of the Great Movie Ride in Hollywood Studios, which is a park I absolutely love, I was very, very, very excited for it. Sue Brown saying that's a bummer, and it really is a bummer, because I'm always excited for these new, brand new kind of style attractions that don't have to be tied to Star Wars, don't have to be tied to these big IPs, these big intellectual properties. Obviously, Mickey and Minnie, they're very big, but it was going to be an original story with a character that we know and love that had never been in an attraction before, and it's still coming. It'll be a lot, later, but I think that this presents a big and unique challenge for Hollywood Studios. Lou is saying, she's upset as well, was looking forward to this ride on the next trip in November. Unfortunately, it won't be open then at that point, so you'll just have to start planning for the next trip when it comes to that. And Shane is saying, funny that both trackless rides are having delays. Shane is referring to Rise of the Resistance, which is the second attraction in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. That's going to open a little bit later than opening day in Disneyland and in Disney World, and that's also a trackless system. What is a trackless system? Well, it means it doesn't have a track. Basically, it's you get in a normal car, it could be wheels, it could be whatever, and it doesn't seem like there's a track in front of you, and it's all running on kind of GPS and computer cues to push you through the attraction. It's a very unique style, but they are causing delays because Disney hasn't done it a whole lot. They have done it in the past, but they haven't done it a whole lot. I think another big reason why this attraction is not going to be opening up in time is they're pulling every single able-bodied construction worker that isn't working on Coronado Springs or Riviera Resort, and they're pulling them and putting them on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. In the grand scheme of things, yes, the Disney fan community, the Disney Parks fan community is upset that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is delayed. But the overarching world, the Star Wars world, the places that are writing articles about Galaxy's Edge, even before it opens, all of these articles from places like the New York Times, from Travel and Leisure, they're writing about Galaxy's Edge. They're focused in on Galaxy's Edge. This is a big deal, and it kind of makes sense for Disney is willing to let one project kind of go to the wayside, not necessarily the wayside, but be delayed in order for them to almost ensure that the big one, the big daddy, isn't delayed, and that's Galaxy's Edge. Sue Brown is also saying, unfortunately won't be there for her next trip in October. You'll just have to, another reason to go back, right? Use that as an excuse. Oh, well, I haven't seen that attraction. I have to go back. I will say 6 months is a very long time. It might not be that, but, from not being open in fall of 2019 to then passing over the winter to then going into the spring of 2020, there's definitely a lot of delays. There's definitely a lot of work that still needs to be done on this attraction. And then we also have to think about those early Galaxy's Edge crowds. This is going to be an attraction that was going to be open but is not. So that's going to mess with a lot of things. There's going to be much more people that are going to go into Galaxy's Edge that aren't going to have the ability to be stopped elsewhere. It's going to be a very, very crowded park. And with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway not opening, that's going to be a big letdown. Lou's saying the same thing. Any excuses to go back. So let's let Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway be your excuse to go back in 2020. And of course, just to comment on that overall story, Disneyland is going to be getting their own version of this attraction, which I think is very cool. In Toontown especially, that's also very cool. It's a good location for that. So an interesting, kind of idea that before this attraction is even opened anywhere else, they already announced it going into the other park. As compared to Galaxy's Edge, which was announced at the same time. They're opening on Disney one in Disneyland and in Disney World. That was announced at the same time. This, not so much. So very interesting how delayed this attraction is, how we heard about it, what's it going to mean for the park overall in 2019. Time will tell, and I guess when we get closer to that date, whenever it might be, we'll finally hear a strong, reason for when it will actually open. All right, so that was our first Disney news story of the week. The second one is kind of more about Disneyland as well, but I think it's just an interesting thing to kind of comment on. So earlier this week, Disney announced how you're going to get in to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. Now remember, Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland is opening a few months before the one in Hollywood Studios in Disney World. In fact, while the one in Hollywood Studios will be opening in August, this one will actually be opening the end of May for Disneyland. So this is coming from D23.com, the Disney fan community, in anticipation of the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge on May 31st at the Disneyland Resort. The Disney Parks blog just announced that beginning May 2nd at 10 a.m. Pacific time, guests will be able to start making reservations to visit the new land. D23 wanted to take the opportunity to make sure you are aware of this and you are armed with all the relevant information to help you embark on your journey to the Outer Rim. So here's the rundown on what you need to know. Reservations are required for May 31st to June 23rd of 2019. D23 says that pretty much says it all. For those 24 days, you need to have a reservation in order to get into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. There will be no standby line, so please don't lurk around the entrance and annoy the cast members, basically. Did we mention you need a reservation? Seriously, you can tell they're really trying to pound this into people, trying to get this into their heads. Now, reservations are available at no cost, as long as you have valid entry to the Disneyland park. That is not included, so you have to buy that. But the reservation to get into that land is free of charge. Guests staying at Disneyland Resort hotels automatically get a reservation. Yes, you read that right. If you and your family or friends are staying at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa, the Disneyland Hotel, and Disney's Paradise Pier Hotel, you are guaranteed to get into Star Wars: A Galaxy's Edge during your stay. Again, as long as you have valid entry to Disneyland Park. And yes, there are still rooms available if you wanted to book in between that time of May 31st all the way through June 23rd. Guests with existing reservations will receive an email with a reservation time, and guests who book starting today will receive a reservation time in their confirmation. So that is something that Disney isn't, saying this is the time you can go. They're pretty much just giving it to those people on the resorts. I would assume that they're going to get the earlier ones for those who have existing reservations already. So you need to make sure you have a Disney account. You'll need to have a Disney account in order to make a reservation. You can set one up at Disneyland.com. Even if you have a Disney account, it can't hurt to log in. Just make sure you have all those details set. So what happens after June 23rd? Reservations will not be required to visit Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge. Our friends at Disneyland Resort have decades of strategic operational planning, experience, and tools to ensure that all guests visiting the resort have a fantastic time, regardless of whether or not they plan to visit Black Spire Outpost. Very interesting thing that has never really been done before. The only thing that's been close is they've had pass holder previews for Toy Story Land, I think, but even more so for Pandora, the World of Avatar. Those were things that they said you need to, book a time. When you get the time, that's the only time you can go in. But again, that was pass holders. And in Disney World, there's not a whole lot of pass holders in Disney World, especially when you compare it to Disneyland. Lou brings up an interesting point. Do you think they'll having this kind of reservation for Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge in Orlando as well? I do not believe so. I believe this is only happening at Disneyland, I think because it is the first get-go. The reason Disneyland is doing a lot of this, I think, the reason Disney World hasn't announced anything, they've actually said we're not going to be doing reservations like that, but they haven't announced, the procedures involved or what have you. Is they're really taking a wait-and-see approach with Disneyland. Disneyland is opening their Galaxy's Edge a couple months earlier, so they want to see how that all plays out. I think also in Disneyland, it's just a much more compact area, so it's going to be a lot more difficult to kind of get those people facilitated in that sort of way. And because Disneyland is very much a locals park, you could easily see people just driving in for the day just to go to Black Spire Outpost, just to go to Star Wars: Galaxy's Edge. So that's where that reservation really comes in. It's kind of pushing people outside who just want to stop in for the day, telling them you have to have a reservation in that first month. In Orlando, yes, there's a lot of locals that go to the parks, but not when compared to Disneyland. So those people are already going to be anticipating, their days are planned out. They're going to the parks as a vacation. They're there for a certain time period. So they're going to have those kind of accommodations already taken care of. It's going to be a bigger area in some regards. When it comes to Hollywood Studios, there's just more room to move around. There's more elements that they've built out to accommodate those crowds. So as of now, no, they have not said anything about needing a reservation in order to get into Galaxy's Edge. Look at that. Erin Sheehy-Molsky is watching the show. She's a true opinioneer, but my so-called co-host, Hank Molsky, is not. Doesn't surprise me. Erin, it does not surprise me. You are the true fan, and Hank he's just really a sidekick, if we're being honest. I mean, he's a sidekick in the podcast game and in your relationship, wouldn't you say? But good to see you as always, Erin. So, interesting. We'll see how it plays out because I think it's going to be unique. It's a unique experience to show up to a park with a reservation to get into just the land. I don't know if there's going to be a cutoff of hey, you can only experience it for this amount of time, you can only ride the rides for this amount of time, I would assume that a lot of people are still going to be able to get into the land. This is really just trying to consolidate so that it's really just boom, boom, boom. Think of it like a fast pass. There's kind of restricting the amount of people within that land so it doesn't hit capacity, so that people can experience in a nice manner. But once those reservations go away, what's going to happen? Who really knows? Only time will tell. So an interesting thing. And really, guys, listen, we're almost a month away from Galaxy's Edge opening up in Disneyland. And again, it's only going to be one attraction when it first opens up. That's the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. So that's another unique perspective. They're opening up a land kind of half complete. They'll be going in, I assume, every single night and doing additional details. They'll be going into, Rise of the Resistance will be pretty much off limits for everyone else. But yeah, there's also a great point Sue Brown brings up. By doing this, they're also building up more hype. That's very true. It's one of those things where you could say, oh, I want to go for the full experience. I'll plan my trip, when both attractions are open. Or maybe you're on the other mindset of, I got to be there that day and then I'll also come back. Whatever it is, there's going to be just multiple times to market this, right? Right now, they're marketing it saying you have to have a reservation in order to get there. Then when we get closer to the date, they're going to market it as the opening day. And then they're going to market it as the Rise of the Resistance opening day. And then they're going to market it as this is the general opening day, right? So just more opportunities for them to build that hype as if they didn't need to build the hype, as it were. There's plenty of hype going into this, but because of how big it's going to be, that hype train just keeps on rolling. Alrighty, so let's dive into our content from WDW Opinion this week, shall we? And it's our podcast, episode 39. Hank and I had a very fun time recording this episode. We talked about a lot of interesting topics, but our main conversation was about Chef Art Smith's homecoming at Disney Springs. Hank and Aaron, who is here, they actually just got to experience homecoming just a few weeks ago, and Austin, who's also here, got to experience it with them as well. I believe that was Hank and Austin's second time going, Aaron's first time going. I had just been a few months prior as well, so because we have been so many times, and I've been over 4 or 5 times now since it's been open, in its few years that it has been open, we thought, hey, why don't we do kind of a review of Homecoming? And as the title entails, why Homecoming is Disney Springs' best restaurant. You can obviously tell that we really, really enjoyed it. I know that Hank and Aaron actually didn't have the best experience when it came to food-wise on this last trip, but I think when it comes to everyone else's experience, all the other times that we've been there, it's really the leader in the clubhouse when it comes to the best Disney Springs restaurants. And there's a number of reasons, and I think it really just hits home. It's got great food, it's got a great story, it's got great service, and it brings it all together in awesome atmosphere. When we start with the food, it's real Southern cooking. Chef Art Smith is a celebrity chef. He's known as, he was Oprah's personal chef for a very long time. You might have seen him on Top Chef Masters. He's been a judge on Top Chef, the regular show. Now he's got his restaurant in Disney Springs. He's had other restaurants throughout the country, but this is called Homecoming for a number of reasons. First being, he's from Florida, so he's really making, a pilgrimage home. These are the dishes that he cooked when he was growing up, when his family cooked for him, that remind him of home. And he actually got his culinary start on the Disney College program, so that's also why it's a homecoming. He's coming back to Disney, which is awesome. And I will say the food there is very, very good. Real Southern comfort style food with some unique twists. He's very much known for his fried chicken. He has 2 standalone fried chicken options on the entree side of things, but it's cool because you can get that fried chicken in a number of different ways. You can get it as the sandwich, you can get it as an appetizer, you can even get it in a salad How great is that? So it's a unique way and a great opportunity to try that special dish in a number of different ways. I also personally love the fried green tomatoes, big fried green tomatoes, kind of shaved Virginia ham on it with a bed of mixed greens, arugula, stuff like that, and a nice remoulade on top. It is very, very, very good. The hush puppies there, the bunch of hush puppies, or the bucket of pups, I can't remember, basket of pups, I think they call it. Also very good. Real stick to your ribs kind of meal. I love the layout of this restaurant. It feels small, but you can tell there's a lot of people that are able to sit there, are able to dine there. Very popular reservation to get, as it were. So again, that just goes to show how great the food is, how great the service is. And the cocktails there are also very, very cool. They have craft moonshine cocktails. I love that sweet tea moonshine cocktail, they call it. So a lot really of good things going for it. Have you guys ever been to Art Smith's Homecoming? If so, what did you think about it? What is your favorite dish there? And do you want to go in the future? Let us know. Shane is saying the fish dip there is amazing. I have never gotten that. I've gotten fish dip elsewhere, but that'll probably be the next thing I get when I go back there. I think it's a smoked fish dip. That's also a very southern thing as well. We got to talking, Hank and I, and we really are seeing how blessed we are of all these great, unique locations that are now in Disney Springs when it comes to dining. It's never been a better time to go to that area. There's so much, really cool and interesting food. And I always like to say, when you're in Disney World, you want to get something you can't get in your daily life. These unique elements, these places like Homecoming, like Morimoto Asia, like Raglan Road, you might have, a Japanese place, you might have a Southern place, you might have a Irish pub near you, but I think on the level that they do it, surrounding by so much other restaurants, so many other options, that's what's so unique about Disney Springs. And it's also bringing a level of, everyone's upping their game, which is really cool. I think when it comes to Disney Springs, each restaurant is almost acting independently, and most of them are owned by third-party people. They're not owned by Disney, so they have to find new and interesting ways to pull people in. Homecoming is a perfect example of that, with that huge list of cocktails, those different sort of style of how they serve the food, which you wouldn't find in a normal Disney restaurant. That service, that hospitality, the theming, just very cool as well. Kyle Loomis, how you doing, my man? Thank you so very much for being here. Good to see you. Kyle, have you ever been to Homecoming at Disney Springs? That's what we're talking about right now. Sue Brown is saying, been there a few times, also love the fried green tomatoes. Shane is saying you also got to get the pulled pork. I believe it's on a sandwich, I want to say, but makes perfect sense of that would be a good option there at Art Smith's Homecoming. Very cool. And I think when it comes to events, Art Smith also has, monthly almost kind of outside hosted events, it seems like they'll have a guest bartender or something, or they'll have Art Smith will come in actually, and he's in there a lot, but that's also a cool thing. You have him, you have Masahiro Morimoto, you have Rick Bayless, you have Wolfgang Puck, you have Jose Andres with Haleo. You have all these celebrity chefs that seem to really take a interest in these restaurants, especially Art Smith and especially Masahiro Morimoto. Those two really seem to be in their restaurants a lot, doing quality control, making sure everything is up to snuff, making sure everything is up to their, quality control, as it were. All right, Kyle, he has not been to Homecoming yet, but he's got to get there, and he's saying he will get there as soon as he can. So, Kyle, I was just saying some great things. The fried green tomatoes, great appetizer, and I love that fried chicken sandwich as an entree. The desserts are supposed to be very, very good. I've had many friends highlight the desserts. I've never gotten them before, but the hummingbird cake is very almost invented, I think, by Art Smith, or at least this iteration is. And then they have a moonshine cake, almost like a rum cake, but it has so much moonshine in it that you actually have to be 21 years or older to order it. That's a cool, interesting dessert that I don't think you can find anywhere else in the world. And Kyle is also saying the amount of big names attached to restaurants in Disney Springs is a big attractor, right? You know, Disney Springs is a place where anyone can go, no matter if you're in there for vacation or if you're a local. If I was a local in Orlando, I'd be there all the time just because of how many, you know, different places there are to try. If I wanted Mexican, I could get Mexican. If I wanted barbecue, I could get barbecue. There's plenty of different options to whet your palate. Shane is saying you can't drive after the moonshine cake. There must be a lot of moonshine in that cake. Very cool right there. There's also a lot of great quick service locations, which I think is very important, and it's great that they're coming to Disney Springs, but also those outside ones, you know, like Blaze, like Deluxe Burger, places that, like Polite Pig, also a barbecue place that is a quick service location. Those are places that you can stop in if you're a local, get a quick bite to eat, walk around Disney Springs for just a little. It's exactly what Disney wants you to do, but it just makes it all that more appealing. And Sue Brown said, last time we bar hopped, went to Jock Lindsay, Raglan Road, and Homecoming, and it was awesome. 3 of my favorites right there, but that's just another appeal of what Disney Springs brings. It's almost like Epcot 2.0, right? Instead of, you know, themed to countries that you get to, you know, drink around the world or eat around the world. Here you get to, you know, eat around the springs, drink around the springs, and each place you go is very different and has its own theming. Jock Lindsay's is kind of like that Far Eastern adventurer vibe. Homecoming, you know, stick to your roots, Southern cooking. Raglan Road, a great Irish pub. 3 very different experiences, but only about 100 yards away from each other, so you can pop in, pop out, grab a quick drink, walk and go, whatever it is. Just an awesome place to enjoy. Kyle's also saying quick service options at Disney Springs were sparse in the past. That has changed and ultimately changed the perception of the area. Kyle, isn't it great that we can get an affordable meal when we go to Disney Springs now? It's not you have to sit down or you have to have, you know, a bad quick service location option. When it came to, you know, when it was downtown Disney, it was really just Earl of Sandwich. Earl of Sandwich is great, but because that was really the only real quick service location next to all the way or kind of sort of by it, Wolfgang Puck Express, those places were always very, very, very busy. But now with all these other quick service locations, all these places that are saying, hey, you can grab a drink to go, with all these bars where you can just sit at and have an appetizer, you don't have to have a dining reservation, you don't feel compelled to sit down and eat. And even with the, you know, the several food trucks they have, yes, it's mainly Disney food trucks, but Four Rivers Barbecue, which is probably the best, it is the best barbecue joint in Orlando, they have their Cantina truck, which is kind of like a Mexican style truck parked in Disney Springs. That's another great option. So the perception is completely changing where, yes, you can go and shop around, but you don't have to break the bank when it comes to mealtime. You can just go to one of those quick service places. Chicken Guy, another great example. And Kyle, I think, you know, people really, really wanted it because you can see the lines are all out the door at those places. If you walk past Chicken Guy, if you walk past Polite Pig, they're always going to be packed. Blaze Pizza, Deluxe Burger is going to be packed. Sprinkles is always going to be packed as well. And, you know, love Earl of Sandwich, but again, it's all about needing those extra choices. Chicken Guy has stolen a lot, I think, from a lot of people from Earl of Sandwich. I'm interested to see if Earl of Sandwich is kind of feeling that. Who knows? I think there will be plenty of, you know, business to go around for Earl of Sandwich. Shane is also saying love Chicken Guy as well. So that's a cool, unique experience you get at Disney Springs, whether it's sit down, whether it's a bar, whether it's quick service. It's really just changed for the better when it comes to dining options all across the board. So guys, go ahead and listen to that episode. You can go to wdwopinion.com/episode 39 to tune into it. And also, if you do listen to the podcast, do me a favor, rate and review it on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. It will help grow the WDW Opinion community by showing it to more people so that they can really listen to the podcast, they can join our community. And let's keep this conversation going, shall we? The best place to do it is, of course, our Opinioneers community. You guys are Opinioneers for tuning in to this live stream episode. Opinioneer community, it's the best place we go to share our Disney opinions on whether it's, Disney World, the Disney streaming service, Disney content, Disney movies, whatever it is, we'll go there to share our thoughts and opinions on everything. Kyle's saying it's in my listen queue for this week. It's a good episode, Kyle. We'd really like to know what you think about it. So head over to the Opinioneers community at wdwopinion.com/opinioneers and give us your thoughts and opinions on the episode there. Guys, thank you so very much again for tuning in. I love doing this with you all each and every week. It was so great to see everyone. Shane, Kyle, Aaron, Austin, Lou, and Sue Brown. So great to see everyone, those true WDW Opinioneers. I hope you guys have a great, incredible week. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.